Hey everyone, it's Ashley with Fleet Feet and welcome to another live show. I'm your host today and we have a special guest who's maybe a bit fringe to the running world, but he is a huge name in the fitness industry. He is an On Running ambassador and he is also primarily known as for his role as a celebrity trainer. Like, he is the guy you want to work with if you want to get in shape for a movie role. He's also a top-notch functional trainer at his gym studio in New York, Drive 495. I think I'm getting that right. Yes.
Perfect.
And he was also a Division I college baseball player turned trainer. And he has more certifications after his name than I can even have time to list here. He's Don Saladino. Don, welcome to the show.
Hey, wow, what an intro. Thank you very much. It's great to be on. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So you all, we have a really special show because we're going to have an interview with Don, traditional style, how we've done on YouTube Lives before. We're going to have a Q&A period. And then at the end, Don's going to walk us through a 10 to 15 minute stability workout that every runner needs to know. And he's going to explain why we're doing that as we go through the workout. And I'm going to jump in here, Don, and just go ahead and start asking you some questions. So
Love it.
I want to get into your background and how you transitioned from baseball to becoming a trainer to opening a gym in your, I think, mid to late 20s.
Yeah, I was pretty young in the city. It was, I'll never forget it. I moved into the city in 1999. I realized things didn't work out with baseball. And, I was always an athlete, so strength and conditioning was very big to me. But also there was a draw that I had to, looking a specific way. Like, I've been on the cover of Muscle and Fitness to cover Men's Health. So I always like to practice what I preach and make sure I had that balance of performance physique. So that was something that was really fun. So when I started off, it was trainer turned strength coach. And then I opened a club in New York City that was primarily for, golf and golf fitness, because my brother was a professional golfer at the time. And we started working with golfers, and it was a lot of fun. Then I got Hugh Jackman as a client, and then things kind of pivoted for me in the golf and fitness world, even though that was something I was really drawn to doing.
Okay, so I got to go back to something that you said, because you were really drawn to like the physique part of fitness too. Yeah. You said you've been on the cover of several magazines, I think. Mm-hmm. So what drew you to that aspect of training?
Listen, as a younger kid, I remember I had a terrible, and you might hear it a couple of times today, but, I had a terrible stutter as a little kid. I had a bad hearing problem when I was in second grade. And I remember at that age, it was a tough thing to deal with. And you're put into a little classroom with like 4 or 5 other kids that are battling with some issues who to this day are my best friends. So, at that time, which seemed like such a terrible thing, it really, I thank God I went through it, because it's really what molded me and kind of drove me into the position that I'm in now, to be able to motivate people and to be able to coach and just really connect with people on a really empathetic, level. As for the physique end of it, listen, I'm not going to tell you that guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Lou Ferrigno at a young age. I remember seeing Lou as the Incredible Hulk and just being like staring at this guy at probably 8 years old going, what is that? I'm almost frightened, but I also love how he looks at the same time. So at a really young age, I was always just drawn to like physiques. I was drawn to like strength and power and athletics. And when I went off to college and I was playing baseball and I was doing pretty well, I remember at a certain point, the focus of training and strength and conditioning started to overtake my focus of baseball. I remember going to games and, training like incredibly hard before the game, even though I knew it could eat into my performance. I had to get my lifting session in, and it just became this like passion, this obsession. And for 21 years, that's what I've been doing in the strength and conditioning world. I've just been constantly taking courses, learning from people. But I think it was the combination of that and business and becoming an entrepreneur that kind of made me a little bit unique from other, people in my situation.
Mm-hmm. And you, despite all of this, like this big focus on strength and building muscle and that piece of it, you were really kind of in the beginning really focused on golf. And I know that's still a part of the gym today, I think, as evidenced by the name Drive. But and your brother was a pro golfer. So how did that really take hold for you all?
We went out to the Titleist Performance Institute. My brother was playing really competitively. He was down on the mini tours in Florida. Yeah, he was young. He was 21 years old. I think he just an incredible player up in the metropolitan section. But I think he realized as a lifestyle, it wasn't what he wanted me to do, what he wanted to do. But at that time, we went down to the Titleist Performance Institute and we saw what Greg Rose and Dave Phillips created with this almost this golf fitness and wellness hub where people can go get club fitting and do all this crazy stuff. And I knew I wanted to open a gym, but I remember looking at my brother and being like, you handle the golf, I'll handle the fitness. Why don't we merge this together and kind of do what they're doing? And Greg gave me a hand with it. Greg and Dave were really supportive of it. And they were West Coast and we were East Coast, but they were definitely ones that inspired us to do it. And it was actually doing quite well for a while until about 07, 08 when the markets just started getting slammed. And they, I think it was the close of Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns. And at that point, we were doing a lot of corporate events, which we had to put on hold. And we realized at that point that we had to change our business model a bit. So golf, there's still a golf focus in there. We're still really good at it. But with training golfers, we believe in creating better athletes to be golfers. And we allow the swing coaches to kind of handle their swing and then be able to communicate with us the things that we need to work on the gym floor. As if were working with a running coach, it wouldn't be any different.
Yeah, and that brings me to a really interesting point, because if we kind of look at, like this old school running coaching philosophy of like run more running is better, and there isn't an emphasis necessarily on that idea of a more balanced body, and that's something that you all really focus on in your gym. So can you talk about that, like the importance of that balance, even if you're working on a specific sport like golf or running? It's not just those specific movements that are required.
No, 100%. I mean, I think you said it great. I mean, we look at things from a joint by joint approach. So if you are a runner, or if you're a soccer player, if you're a rower, we're going to go in there, we're going to assess you pretty similarly. And we're going to see if there's any weak links, and we're going to see if the body's not functioning in unison or functioning in a specific way where, I always like to say X doesn't mark the spot. If we have knee pain, most people are looking at the knee. We're looking at the areas above and below the knee, because if something's not functioning properly, it could be causing damage on the knee. But it's like tennis elbow. Everyone's grabbing their elbows and they're like, oh, I went to physical therapy and I fixed my elbow's better now, but I thought it was better, but my tendonitis came back. And we look at them and we say, well, it's coming from your shoulder. That's why your elbow's having. So that's why I'm just saying X doesn't always mark the spot. So I think with any athlete, you want to understand the sport that they're playing. I think you want to definitely include their coach. You want to include them. You want to be able to collaborate with what it is they've been working on to improve their craft. And then at that point, I think it's our job as the strength and conditioning team, including in that, it's going to be our physical therapist, and to really do kind of a deep dive and say, all right, are there any red flags, or is it just let's get this person stronger, more stable, faster, and more resilient? I mean, that's a word that gets just not used enough. And I remember even with golfers, like if we were to improve a golfer's distance by 5 yards, is that really going to force them to win a major? Or like there's so many other things that are involved. But the word resiliency, for a runner, resiliency, the ability to go and run and then bounce back the next day and recover and be able to do it again. And that's, a lot of people listening to this, I think I would guess that they love to train, and there's nothing worse when their body's not feeling good. But when their body's feeling great and they're able to repeat over and over, that's an incredible blessing that we have the privilege to have sometimes. So I think it's just the approach that you take that could lead to that. And that just makes all that we do so much more fun.
Yeah, that makes me think about how when you just said over and over, like running is a repetitive action that's just step after step after step after step. And if you're out of balance, it's really like the discrepancies in your body become really apparent with each step. So I want to go back to something that you just said, a joint by joint approach. And for those of you all watching right now, just so you know, we have 2 workouts from Don live on our YouTube channel, and you will hear him say this in those videos. So can you explain a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Yeah, from the joint by joint approach, we really like to look at things from the ground up. So, the foot affects the ankle affects the knee affects the hip affects the low back affects the mid back, the shoulder, the neck. So, we've seen, individuals come in with neck problems that could have injured their ankle as a young kid, and it could just throw off that whole mechanism. And I saw it yesterday. I saw a woman running in my town, and as I'm driving by, I'm like, I'm always interested in learning about gait, and I'm interested because that's an area I'm not strong with. Like I'll admit, like running mechanics, I would throw to my friend Derek Hansen, who specializes in that. I wouldn't, but I'd focus on creating a better athlete. But I'm watching her gait, and I'm watching what's going on with her foot and her ankle, and I could see that there's a lot going on in the hip. And there's a lot going on in the ankle, and you could just see this from a distance. And the bummer about that is she's out there putting in her miles, putting in her reps. I see her working hard every week, but unfortunately, if she keeps instilling that movement pattern, she's not going to be running much longer. I mean, she's going to have injury, and things are going to break down. And then where do you go to then? It's like you get an MRI, you go and you get surgery. But if you get surgery on that ankle or that knee, where did that come from? If it was coming from that instability or that inefficiency in that hip, well, isn't that going to happen again when you go back to running? Because the hip hasn't been fixed. It's just an example that I'm giving. I hope I'm not losing anyone here. But, that's what the joint by joint approach is for me. It's really getting an understanding on what's going on in the body. There's simple movement screening tests that you can go to in any city. I mean, you can find a strength coach. You can find a physical therapist to run you through something like something as simple as a functional movement screening, an FMS, it's 7 steps, or an SFMA, which would be performed more by your physical therapist. These are great screens, especially if you're out there running and you're just saying to yourself, man, something just doesn't feel right in my body. Why is my hip always bothering me? Or why is my foot always bothering me? It could be coming from an area, like I say, X doesn't always mark the spot. It could be coming from a different area.
I'm going to jump ahead for a second here because we're talking about this stability right now, just to give everyone a little bit of a preview of why they want to follow along with this workout at the end of the video. Can you just give a little brief overview of why you selected the workout you're going to share at the end of our interview?
Yeah, listen, first off, it's a bodyweight workout because I didn't want anyone to be stressing out about equipment. But, it's 9 bodyweight exercises that I feel some are easy and some are demanding, and it's requiring us, like I always like to say, that you have flexibility and you have stability, and that equals mobility. So flexibility is when someone can get into a position. Mobility is when someone can get into a position but control it. So, we see this with a lot of dancers. Some of them are just so flexible and they're always getting into specific positions. They may be lacking in stability. Or you may see a guy who's incredibly strong, he might be lacking in flexibility. So we really want to find that balance. So I've selected, 9 different movements that are going to first start with some flexibility and get into a little bit of stability. And then we're going to focus a little bit more on strength. It'll tie a little bit in endurance. So it's a really well-balanced workout. It's going to take about 10 to 15 minutes, require absolutely no equipment. We'll start from the ground. We'll get off the ground, maybe back on the ground. It's going to be fun. You'll break a little sweat. It's not going to beat you up. So the thing with these workouts is, they're not intended to destroy you, because we want to put our work on the street or on the turf. Like when we run, if you are a runner, that's where the primary focus is. This should be a supplement to your running.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to get back into some more specific mobility and stability types of questions and training questions. But Don, we've got to talk to you about your celebrity training that you do, because
oh God, there you go.
You knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming. Yeah.
You can't get through an interview without it.
It's okay. It's okay. They're all cool with it.
So you've trained some incredible stars, the entire cast of the Avengers, I think, and right now
a bunch of them. Sebastian Stan, Scarlett Johansson, a few others as well. I mean, it's been a good run. I've worked with probably between 50 to 100 celebs, and a lot of them, whether it's Ryan Reynolds for Deadpool, or, Dave Harbour for Hellboy, or Zach Levi for Shazam. Thank God I'm not forgetting any names on that, but Jake Gyllenhaal, and I can go on and on. John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Blake Lively. I've worked with some incredible people. A lot of them I consider really close friends of mine. And like I said, it's been a lot of fun, because again, I'm performing the worlds of performance and physique. So I need them to perform like an athlete, because a lot of them are doing their own stunts, but they have shirtless scenes and they got to show abs and they got to show this action figure type of physique. So it's been interesting to blend and focus on recovery and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you've made it as a celebrity trainer when you have a really in-depth bio on IMDb.
Oh, do I? I didn't even know that.
You do, yes.
Oh my God, I gotta check that out. That's gonna be fun. I'll show my kids. They'll actually think I'm cool now. So
So what is it like? What really drew you to training celebrities? I know it is like this performance thing you're talking about, but what is it about that that's so exciting for you?
it's fun to have a project. It's fun when someone's coming to you and there's like, I never want to say there's a start and finish. I mean, I work with some of them every day and I love them to death, but it's fun when you have a goal. You're like, all right, we got 3 months to get ready. Like, what do we have to do? It's like, all right, it's time to turn up the heat a bit. What's going on? How's the body feeling? What's your travel schedule like? What's going on with the stress in your life? Nutritionally, what are we going to do when you're on the road? Training wise, it's not about more is better. What can you handle when you're away? That's a big part of it also. So it's really, it's like a puzzle every single time because every set changes. And that's what I wish it wasn't like that, but it's kind of in a way, it's fun for me to have to go on and just really figure out, the puzzle and figure out what's going to work for that client and how are we going to get them through that 3 months or 4 months of filming and allow them to leave on the last day and say, my body feels incredible. I nailed the scene that I had to nail shirtless, or I got through all my stunts and I'm not injured and I'm recovering and thank you. And to see that finished product and be able to go to those premieres and watch that, it's fun. I've been bringing my kids to the premieres, so they've been meeting a lot. They've met a lot of these actors over the last, several years as they're getting older, and it's just fun for them to see how I have a little fingerprint in it. It's not a big one, but it's a little one, and it's been really enjoyable for me.
So getting ready for a movie role can be like incredibly difficult, right? Depending on what the role is and like the time frame that you have and like the amount of transformation that your client has to go through.
Sure.
What has been maybe the most difficult, like, I don't know if we're going to make this happen kind of thing?
You know what? You always make it happen because you have to figure something out on a minimal level. I mean, I remember watching Blake Lively go through, she was filming one movie. We were prepping her for another movie. She just had her second baby. She's getting picked up at her house, before, her kids are up and she's commuting back and forth and she's not getting in till 8 at night. And I remember looking at her going, how the hell are you shooting this movie? How the hell are you training with me? And how are you raising kids, under these circumstances? This is incredibly difficult. So, for me, that might have been one of the more impressive. I mean, any of the moms that I've had to work with where they're balancing out their children with, training and work, I would say is probably the most impressive things. I mean, the guys, we have it easy. So I think they'll all attest to that as well. So that's been fun to be able to get them through, but just getting them to relax and saying, listen, at the very least, we're going to make sure your nutrition is as good as we can handle it right now. And you're obviously active and, getting in some workout sessions during the week and just getting them to go in the role and say, this is the hand that I have right now and this is life. And, I'm going to do the best that I can. But, 10 out of 10 times, honestly, in my career, it's always worked out. I think everyone puts a lot of pressure on themselves to kind of get ready for the roles. And I'm always kind of sitting there going, you're going to be fine. It's going to be all right. Let's just stick to the plan and let's do the best that we can. And when they fall off or they slip up a little bit, it's just, getting them not to worry and get right back on it. I think that's part of it.
So you're their cheerleader, just making sure it's going to happen.
That's all I do. I just sit there with my pom-poms. I'm like, come on.
You got it.
We could do it. No, listen, I think what's fun from a program design standpoint is, again, what do we have that day? Do we have a full hour? Do we have some more time to do restorative work? Is it only 20 minutes? And then at that point, how are we calling that audible? So, I always write the program. I'll always have that template, but 9 out of 10 times we have to deviate. I mean, there's so many things going on. I mean, a mom or dad could be, I could be prepping them for a movie and the next thing you know, their kid gets sick or something happens and, they've had an hour to train, but now they only have 20 minutes. It's like, it's the same things that any other person has. That's why I laugh when someone calls me a celebrity trainer. I'm like, I train people. They have the same problems as anyone else. I just get the privilege of being able to see them on screen. And like I said, just say that I had like a little fingerprint in it. I was there to help a little bit.
Yeah. So a couple of things from that. I guess first, I want to talk about nutrition in part of that program because I know we had a little bit of a discussion before this started. But when we're thinking about schedules and this idea of, okay, I have a limited amount of time, and this is for, I know I struggle with this, I know like working professionals struggle with it, movie stars struggle with it sounds like, fitting a workout in, and it's really maybe easy to say, okay, well, I'm gonna wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do this, even though I've only gotten a few hours of sleep or whatever it is, if you're really determined. And I've heard you in an interview kind of passionately talk about that habit. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear to say if, for years I was waking up at 4 a.m. because I was training clients and I had to be in Manhattan at 6. So for me to get up at 4 and shower and have breakfast and go through some breathing and be in the car by 5 to get into the city by 5:15, if I didn't have to do that, I wouldn't have done that. And what really bothered me about those comments, I think it was something, it might have been what the Huffington Post put up, and I'll say it, but I think they might have put it up, and it was glorifying some big CEOs out there. They were talking about like Tony Robbins, and they were talking about Mark Wahlberg. And I said to myself, I said, this is going to set a bad example for people. They're going to immediately think, well, these are really successful individuals and they get up early, so I got to get up early. And one of the number one things that I'll ask anyone when I first go through a consultation with them is, how do you sleep? Because if I don't have to wake up at 4 in the morning, I'm not waking up at 4 in the morning. It's healthy to allow us to sleep to where the natural light forces us to rise in the morning. And there's so much more benefits there's going to be for our hormone function. So I think why I got upset was, I think it becomes a little bit of a tough guy competition where when people are like, well, I got up at 3, and I've been victim to it. I've gotten up at 3 a.m. to train because I've had to, because I've traveled or I'm prepping for something, or I knew the next day there was no way I was able to train and I couldn't afford to take that other day off. So there's been times where I've done it, but if I don't have to do it, I'm allowing my body to rest. I'm allowing it to recover so I can perform better for my sessions. Mm-hmm. And that's when my body composition will get better. That's when my performance will get better. And no one, it's a fight no one's ever won. No one has ever beaten under resting. All these people that say, well, my doctor said all I need is 3 hours. It's BS. No, you don't. At a certain point, you get sick. At a certain point, your body breaks down, and it doesn't end for anyone. It doesn't end well for anyone. So I think anyone listening to that, if you could tell there's a little aggravation in my voice on there, it's because my whole mission is to teach people to live a healthier life. Training, nutrition, sleep, digestion. And if we're not sleeping, I don't care who you are, you're not going to beat it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that sounds like just another point to make with everything being in balance. Like, okay, if you have to get up sometimes and do that, that's okay. Don't make a habit of it. Mm-hmm. And then the other piece here, in addition to training, sleeping, and nutrition, I know when I asked you earlier, like, what did you have for lunch? You were like, which lunch?
It's listen, I have to, my goals are maybe a little bit different. I mean, than most people. Obviously there's a performance goal, but there's also an aesthetic goal. So I'm not saying I don't eat every 2 hours, but I think every 3 to 4 hours I have to fuel up my body to be able to consume the specific amount of macronutrients that my body needs to look a certain way and perform a certain way. Like I burn a lot more calories than most people. And I'm 6'1", 210 pounds. I walk around with a low level of body fat all year long. So for me to do that and maintain that and allow my body to stay healthy and hormonally sound, functionally sound, I have to consume a lot of calories. So for me, it's something I enjoy doing. It's something I have fun with doing. Do I go eat pizza? Sure. Do I ever drink alcohol? Absolutely. Of course I do. Like these are things, but I pick my battles for all that stuff. And I understand that if I'm going to do that, there's going to be a few days where, my body's detoxing. I may not be feeling great. I might be, dragging a little bit. Brain function might be off, but that's part of it all. And I need that balance in my life to be able to do what I do, and enjoy, performing optimally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, I've got to transition to a little bit of a running question here.
Sure.
Because I know you're an On ambassador as well.
Yep.
And you really enjoy running. So I want to know, first of all, like, what is it that you love so much about running? And how, a little bit of a commercial break in here too,
Sure.
to talk about some new shoes that On just came out with, the Cloud Flyers, which I think you've run in, and just what you love about running and then why you love working with On for that.
100%. So, I mean, running has always been something that's very mindless. With all my other training, it's very calculated, and running is, I could be doing heart rate training where I know I need to stay in a specific zone for a specific period of time, and I do that. Fortunately, with Omega Wave, they've been great with me and helping me out kind of to design programming there. So for me to be able to go out sometimes and just be able to look at a board and say, I've got to hit this, target on the true form, or maybe be able to go outside and hit the pavement and just do something mindless for 45 minutes where my heart rate needs to be maintained in a certain zone, or going to the track and pushing some intense sprints. My body feels great doing it because I'm never overstaying my welcome, and I feel it makes me a better athlete while, making myself feel better mentally and physically. So running is just something I know it was funny for years, everyone's like, running's bad for you. I'm like, no, it's not. Running's not bad for you. Like, if you're injured or if your body's not functioning properly, it can be bad for you. But I had a friend of mine recently who was a Navy SEAL who went and just did an ultra marathon, and he didn't even train for it. And the next day I'm like, how'd you feel? He's like, fine, I'm fine. Like he's a SEAL. He's wired a little bit differently, but his body was great. And I think it's just proof that some people can handle a lot more than others. But if you enjoy doing it, have fun with it. And I think as for On and working with them, I mean, it was, oh my God, what a blessing. A friend of mine introduced me to the team at On, and I met them years ago, and I think we just all gelled, and to see them grow as a company and how incredible they've been for me. And I mean, even from the sneaker standpoint, it's so much fun because every time I go for a run, I put on a different pair of sneakers according to what I'm doing. And I almost feel like I'm jumping into like a different sport car. I know it sounds funny. It's like, okay, am I going to race around a track today? Am I going to be on pavement? Am I going to be on grass? And you throw on those sneakers and it really does change your mindset a bit. It makes running for me feel that much better, and it makes it that much more fun for me. So I think they've done an absolutely stellar job of incorporating performance with style. And it's just, I'm not going to lie. If I'm out doing something, I want to feel good doing it. I want to look good doing it. That's part of performance and mindset. If I'm not, it's just, I'm downplaying what I'm trying to do a bit. So I think it's been an incredible partnership for me, and I pray I could continue to be partners with them for years to come.
So we talked, I think it was last week, Don, about some of the new On apparel, and we actually just reviewed some. You all can check out reviews of the wind jacket, a pair of shorts, and a t-shirt on our blog right now. But Don, you commented about how much you loved the shorts because you felt like you weren't wearing anything when you wore them.
Anything. I thought I was naked without scaring people. But it's funny. I'd never worn like a compression short, but they have a compression short with kind of a little bit of a looser short that hangs over it. And for me, I like that because I don't like wearing things that are too tight. But even the tank top, it's like they feel good, they look good. I can run in them. I never get any chafing from it. I just feel like it's almost part of me when I'm running. And it definitely improves my performance. I mean, I used to run in like baggy sweatpants, and I used to run in like baggy shirts, and this just feels better. As for the footwear, I mean, we're talking about, the Cloud Flyer. I've been really into that shoe. The Cloud X has been my go-to training shoe. Anyone who calls me, they're like, I want like an all-around shoe. I'm like, go with the Cloud X. But I also love, I never hear people talk about much, but the Cloud Flash, it's almost a little bit more of a lower profile shoe. I've been wearing that on the track a little bit more. I've been wearing a little bit on the street, and I almost feel like I'm not wearing anything, but it's giving me the cushioning and support that I need. So I've been having a lot of fun with that sneaker, and I'm wearing that a lot also.
So with On, you feel like you're running with no clothes on and no shoes, totally
I'm
comfortable.
naked, I'm running fast, my body's feeling good. I feel like I'm looking okay. I don't mind saying that, but it's been awesome. I just truly love them over there, and I love what they're all doing.
And you all, we can link a review to the On hybrid shorts in the show notes below, as well as our reviews on those other apparel pieces. Awesome. So Don, I want to jump back into a few more questions. We're getting close to time to set up for our workout, but I have a couple more in-depth questions, and then I'm going to hit you with some rapid-fire questions before we set up. So, first of all, when we were talking about, you said like you go to the track and you do some sprinting, or maybe you're going out and just doing an easy run, and that's working different muscle groups, like you're doing an anaerobic like sprint workout or something endurance focused. And before the show, we were talking a little bit about, if someone is maybe more fine-tuned to sprinting, or they feel like they have fast twitch muscle fibers more so than endurance muscle fibers, and maybe something like a tempo run is more challenging, but like 200-meter intervals on the track are easy.
Right.
Why is that? And is there a way to lean into those strengths to like strengthen
100%.
our weaknesses?
No, I'm totally getting what you're asking. So, we don't know when we're born and we start with activity as a kid. We don't know whether we have more type 1 fiber or type 2 fiber, or I like to simplify and say like white fibers and red fibers. But we do genetically. We might be more white fiber dominant, which basically means you're more anaerobic, which means without oxygen, okay? Or red, which is more with oxygen. So if you're someone who is born and you are just more white fiber dominant, your car might be set up more for sprinting, okay? But if you get involved in, more distance, because it's the sport that you just started playing, you will develop qualities in that sport and you will become better at distance running. Now, I would say that if we knew exactly your fiber type as a kid and we were able to gear your training towards that fiber type, would you become better if we knew if you had more white fiber? Sure. We'd have you do sprinting more and you probably become a lot more better at that. But it doesn't mean that you can't become good at something else. I think we'll refer to it as like being optimal. Like when you see someone who's really optimal, like Usain Bolt, he's probably, my guess would be more white fiber dominant. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I'm trying to say. If we got him into marathon training though, as a kid, could he still become a good marathon runner? I'm sure he could. Would he have done in marathon running what he does as sprinting? I doubt it. It's just my guess and my assumption based off of the facts. So I think that's really the simplest way I would explain that. That was, I know Charlie Francis, who my buddy Derek Hansen trained under, used to give that white and red fiber analogy. And even myself, I got a lot into middle distance running because of, back in the 90s, our high school coaches, our college coaches, it'd be like, go run 3 miles, go run 5 miles. Is that really the best thing for a baseball player? Like, I think some distance running needs to be incorporated in there so we can get the horsepower increased of the car, but you also need to balance that out with more anaerobic work, more sprint work, more speed work, because for a baseball player, it's how fast can we get from home to first or home to second or home to third, or all around the base paths. And that's where that speed is a little bit more applicable for it's more applicable by that style of training. So,
And when we talk about like muscle fibers too, and we talk about flexibility and mobility and tension and all these different words, and this idea that I've heard this idea of like your muscle, like thinking of it like a spring, and the right balance of those things is what helps you move efficiently. So
I like saying elasticity. Like, I think like you need like good elasticity in a muscle. I think the best example that I'll give is take someone who sits in a chair and you start getting out of that chair and you take that first step and you're like, oh God, like why is my body moving slowly? And then but if we were to get you out of that chair and we were to kind of warm your body up with some floor work, and then we were to start doing some really low intensity, ground contact work or something to kind of apply some elasticity to the muscle, within 5-10 minutes, if we don't overdo it, their body's going to feel 100 times better and a little bit quicker. And I think that's what starts happening with runners who run distances. They might start losing that elasticity, that fast ground contact, because they're not working on it. You take a sprinter who's so used to hitting that ground contact hard, driving those knees up, hand to pocket with their arms, etc. If you had them run, with those high knees for 5, 6, 7 miles, they might get completely gassed because they can't maintain that technique over that period of time. So I really do believe for runners, you need a balance. I wouldn't say it has to be a 50-50 balance. If you're a sprinter, you need to keep the majority of your training to sprinting, but every once in a while doing maybe a slower steady state jog or a run, to increase the horsepower of your engine, which would help improve recovery, I think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of recovery, I want to go back to nutrition because
Yes.
that's something that you are also really passionate about. And I want to bring up this study that I came across recently that was published in the journal Nature Metabolism. I think it was a link this July about if you are hyperglycemic, so if you have high blood sugar, your oxygen consumption during aerobic activity could be low. So like your ability to maybe absorb the training and recover is diminished. What does that say about the importance of proper fueling? And is that like, oh, I ate a brownie today, so my workout isn't going to be so great? Or
Oh my God. I mean, I think fuel is everything. I think, if you're racing a race car and you put race fuel in the car or you put 87 octane, I mean, the car is going to perform differently. When you're really in tune with your body, you can really start dialing things in to where, brain function improves, awareness during a workout improves, you're not feeling sluggish, you have that feeling of wanting to go, 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 go. That study was interesting because I did read it and they were talking about how it improved if your blood sugar level was, if the oxygen consumption was lower, you would struggle to build muscle, I think it said, aerobically, but who's trying to build muscle with aerobic activity? That's what I was kind of a little confused with, and that was the question that I would ask. But yeah, if someone's doing aerobic activity, I wouldn't necessarily tie that to trying to build muscle. I mean, that would be more anaerobic activity. So I don't know. I mean, I have some questions on it, but to answer your question, fuel 100%. If I wake up and I have what might seem like a healthy breakfast. So let's say I wake up tomorrow and I have eggs and oatmeal and fruit, right? Which a lot of Americans would think, a lot of people in this world would think, all right, that's a healthy breakfast before you train. But if I'm not metabolizing that oatmeal properly, if I have almost too much carbs in my body from the day before, that meaning like too much gasoline, what's going to happen? It's going to overflow. If the car is filled and you try and fill up more gasoline, it's going to overflow. I could actually go into my workout and hinder performance, and I could actually get a crash. And I think a lot of runners out there might have experienced it at times where they might eat something and be like, why did I just eat and I feel sluggish? It might not be the right food for you at that time. I'm a carbohydrate person. When I was preparing for the cover of Muscle and Fitness, I was getting in 4.5 weeks before I knew the shoot I was getting 500 grams of carbohydrates a day. That's a lot. I mean, I was getting at least 32 ounces of sweet potato a day, and that wasn't even including all the rice I was having. When I prepped, I got to 300 grams, but for most people, they'd be like, how do you get all that food down? My body was primed to be able to metabolize that food, process that food, and utilize it for energy. And that's why I hold muscle. So I think for most people, fuel 100% if you're a runner. Fuel will also not only help with performance, it will help with recovery. It will allow you to sleep better. It'll allow you to wake up the next day and bounce back. And if you're not eating enough that day and you wake up the next day and you're feeling kind of lethargic or you're feeling like you're not performing, it may not be about what you did that day. It could be about what you did the last couple of days, and it could really play that much of a toll into your performance for days to come, if you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. It almost sounds like when you're talking about the snack that you maybe eat before a run, you're like, oh man, I feel really sluggish, that it wasn't necessarily that snack was bad for your body, but it could be that what you ate yesterday, and that was like the thing that took
100%,
you over.
100%. Well, listen, if you're having a brownie before you run, but seriously, I mean, sometimes,
Guilty.
I've seen it. Listen, but you might be able to have that and just say to yourself, I feel great. Like, this is actually increasing my energy level, and I think that gets into how you're also processing glucose. And like you'll see, I wore one of those glucose monitors, those Libre glucose monitors that like actually go into your arm for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And I was able to measure, where my blood sugar level was. And it's fascinating sometimes to see like, oh wow, my body's affecting a certain way from some foods. I know people, I mean, my training partner is 59 years old. I mean, the guy's a machine. He'll eat Snickers bars before the workout, and my body will never look like his. I mean, his body's an Adonis. I mean, it's unbelievable. So he can just perform and process food maybe a little bit differently than I can, and maybe you can. But I think for most people listening out there, you got to find what works for you. Mm-hmm. And one day on a Monday, you might be able to eat something and then find out that 6-7 days later, you're really tired after eating it. Or maybe your body's not performing a certain way. And that's because the body's always changing. We're always burning, and we're getting tired and fatigued, and our central nervous system's becoming taxed. And there's all these things into play. But if your nutrition's not right, that'll all work against you a lot faster.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, we have 5 minutes before we're going to start the workout. So I'm going to go through some quick questions. A couple of these are not so quick, so we'll say like sentence or two answer.
You're making me nervous.
I'm going to ask you really hard questions that you have to answer in 2 words. Here we go.
God, you're asking me to answer something in 2 words. That's impossible. I already lost it. All right, let's go. I'll do my best.
So what has been the best thing about working with your brother?
Really quickly, I mean, it's my brother. It's great when you win with a family member to be able to do it with someone you love. So I think that's been the best. I'm trying to answer in as little words as possible.
He's also your sibling. So what's the worst part?
I mean, again, you bring work home, and you suddenly you're going to a family gathering, and you're kind of looking at him, and he's looking at you, and you're like, I'm a little pissed off at you right now. So I shouldn't be true. But no, it's the truth. It's everything and anything you would imagine working with a sibling. I mean, you have some incredible days when you're out celebrating, popping champagne bottles, and then there's other days where we're both, throwing each other through a cabinet. So it's.
Yeah. And owning a gym, you've owned a gym for a long time, survived, like we talked about the crash earlier in 2007, 2008, and now through a pandemic, you're still going, but gym culture is likely going to change after the pandemic. So have you given thought to what in-person gym training is going to look like on the other side?
Yeah, I'm in a really good situation. I mean, fortunately, my 15-year lease happened to expire May 31st. So people are like, well, how did you luck out there? I'm like, well, I got lucky somewhere, which is great. But, I'm still assessing right now. All my trainers are working. We're all working virtually. But, things right now in the city, they're not looking great. And people are, a lot of gym owners have to open up. I don't have to open up. I mean, I could hit the pause button for a few months. I can move my stuff into storage. I can find other space at a better rent price, and I can move back in there and do what I have to do. So, I'm weighing out some options. I'll know the answer to that probably in the next week or so. I know where I'm leaning right now. But I'm really, whatever happens, I'm really excited that either decision is going to be my decision and what I want to do, and it's going to be great. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you've had some. I've noticed in some of your training programs, you're really big about modifications. Like if you don't have weights, that's okay. You don't have to do this exercise to the T. And that seems like something that's really helpful in the pandemic. What do you think is so important about just being okay with modifying things, like not having control over every little bit of
I think it's something that people have to learn to do. I mean, I had to learn to do it at a young age. I mean, you suddenly think that there's an exercise on the program, and if you have to remove the exercise, the program is bad. Like, programs are meant to be modified. Like, every single individual out there is going to have, like, if you can't back squat, front squat. If you can't front squat, goblet squat. Like, we can get you to point A to point B with a variation, or I don't like to call it even a regression. I steal Dr. Weingroff's phrase where he said lateralization, because it's never a regression. We're just finding it's a lateralization. We're just moving it over, and we're finding something that works for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so these are going to be fast questions now, because those weren't really exactly rapid fire. Okay, so do you ever want to, would you want to be a double, I have lost all of my words all of a sudden. Would you have you ever thought about being in a movie and being a stunt double? Is that something you're interested in?
No, I'm not. I like taking care of my body. If one of my clients, actually, I did have a client bring me into a movie once as like an extra, and we did it as a joke. But something like that's fun, that we can laugh about and get a kick out of, absolutely. But I'll leave the acting to my clients. Do I think I can act? Yes, I think I could probably act a specific role, but I wouldn't call myself an actor. No.
Okay, and what is your go-to breakfast?
My go-to breakfast is, it always changes. It's a protein, it's a carb, it's a vegetable. So it could be dinner from the night before. It could be breakfast food like eggs, rice, and a veggie. I mean, it's a mishmash, but it's mostly all the time a protein, a carb, and a vegetable, unless I had a big meal the night before, and I'll remove the carb, not for body composition purposes, but more for brain function. The fact that I just don't need that additional, gas in the car.
Okay, if you could name one thing that is like your biggest struggle with fitness and just a healthy lifestyle, what is it?
My biggest struggle with fitness and a healthy lifestyle, I think a big challenge of mine has always been breathing and coping with stress and not taking on too much and allowing there to be so much clutter. I think one thing the pandemic's really taught me to do is, you got to step back a little bit and you got to focus on your bread and butter and really just start putting my eggs now. Fortunately, I've been pretty successful in what I'm doing. So putting my eggs into, one basket rather than 5 different ones and seeing what hits. So I think sometimes just doing too much and the brain going too much and not having the ability to disconnect in the evening. My priority is my wife and my kids. But, sometimes, you're missing a game because you're at work or you're doing things that are responsibilities. I just, always want to make sure that doesn't get out of control and that my family knows that I'm always putting them first, because they're the most important to me. So.
Yeah. All right. So last question before the workout,
Sure.
Because we ask every guest, for one piece of parting advice, and it doesn't have to be something that is related to anything that we've talked about. It can just be something that has helped you that could help others too.
For partying?
No, parting advice. But it could be for partying.
I thought you said partying advice. I'm like,
Yeah.
Man, are we going here right now? That's kind of fun. Partying
You're
advice.
welcome to.
I think with fitness, with running, with lifting, with sport, it's a process. And we want changes too quickly. All of us do. Whether you're meeting someone in a relationship, you want to love, whether it's improving your workouts, you want it now. Body composition, we want it now. And sometimes, you think of the word investment. You got to invest your time into something to be really great with it. If you're a runner and your body's hurt, then you need to take a step back and look at how am I going to improve the movement of my body to where I can now run and run freely and allow my body to feel great and allow myself to get that feeling from running that I used to get. And we can get back there. It takes some strategy and it takes some patience. So I think at the end of the day, we just need to have more patience in life and everything that we do. And I think we just got to enjoy this. As a short life. Unfortunately, I've had to say goodbye to a lot of close people to me. And, with this pandemic, it really puts things into perspective. So I think we just got to do our best. And when we feel like we're not, just recognize it, not be so hard on ourselves, and, move on and try and do better the next day. I know it sounds very maybe corny and cliche, but it really is, something I put a lot of thought into.
Yeah, that's excellent advice, Don. And patience is something, that we all need, I think, right now through this.
100%.
So on that note, if we're ready to transition into this stability workout that is going to make everyone a stronger, more stable runner, Don's going to be moving a little bit here. And don't forget to tip your screen down. I told you I'd let you know.
I got you. I wasn't forgetting. I might even take my glasses off right now. I don't feel like wearing them anymore. Here we go. Let's wait for this to... Okay. Are we good there?
Yeah, we can hear you. And you can follow along with this workout. We're going to have Don on full screen for you, and he will be walking us through the workout.
Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is just talk me through, let me know if you can see me. If I lay down on the mat right now, are we good?
Oh, I can see you. We got you. Yep. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to start with something right now called a dynamic hamstring. So really simply, we're going to lay flat back onto our mat. I'm going to grab my right leg, and I'm going to extend my leg to the ceiling, and I'm just going to give myself 10 really controlled kicks, and we're just going to allow, we've been sitting for a while right now, so I want to allow our body to kind of open up. 2 more, and rest. I think that's 10. We'll go to the other leg, roughly about 10. So right now, sitting is probably one of the worst things we can be doing to our body and our flexibility, and I try and remind everyone to stand up every 30 minutes and move around. And that's the best stretch for the body from sitting too much. So if you sit for 8 hours, make it a challenge to try and sit only 4 hours. So now I'm going to lay on my side. We're going to go into a dynamic quad. So I'm grabbing my shoelaces. I'm grabbing my on shoelaces, and I'm pulling back my knee, and I'm allowing my quadricep and my hip flexor to kind of open up a bit. 4, just breathing, trying to relax into the stretch a bit. We don't want to stretch, and we don't want to be, grunting or making a face or allowing our nervous system to lock up. I'm talking a lot right now, but we just want to allow our body to just kind of relax and open up. So I'm going to go to the other side now, and we're going to pull back. This is something this routine today is going to take 10 to 15 minutes, but some of these stretches that we're doing right now, you can throw in during the day. If you feel like you're sitting a lot and you want to hop on the mat and just run through these 3 right now I'm about to show you, there's going to be a lot of benefit into that. One more time. And good. Okay, so now we're going to go into a reach back. So what I want you to do is we're going to, on the up facing, you can see me a little bit better. I'm going to sit onto my heels. Now, by sitting onto my heels, I'm going to lock my lumbar spine in because I don't want any of the rotation to take place from my lower back. I want it to take place from my mid to upper back. So we're going to sit back onto the heels. My forearm is going to go flat on the floor. I'm going to open to the ceiling, and I'm going to close. I'm going to go through 10 of those. 3, 4, 5. So now we're working on thoracic rotation. Good. Okay, we're going to go to the other side now. We don't have to spend a lot of time doing these. I would say a set or 2 of each one of these movements is going to be enough just to kind of get the body awakened. I think you can go up to about 3 sets per movement. So we just went through a series of 3 exercises. We're going to go through 1 set, but you could go up to about 3. So now we're going to go into something called the hip airplane. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my chair right now because I want to show everyone that if you need to balance and stabilize, we're going to use our chair. But this is one of my favorite all-time hip stability movements. We're going to hinge forward. Now I'm going to just hold on for a second to show you that we can support our body from here. We're going to open and we're going to close those hips. So now I'm keeping my hands down. I'm going to try and balance there, open and close. And it's normal to feel a little unstable. And if you lose balance, we're just going to put that foot down. Opening that hip up, closing. 2 more, we're going 7. 1 more. 8, and good. I lose my balance there. We'll see how I am on the other foot. So now left foot's grounded. Using this as a support system in case I have to grab on. If I do, I could just drop my thumb. 2, 3, 4. Whoa, there we go. 5, 6, 2 more. 7, reset. Side's a little harder today. 8, good. So that's, now what we're going to do is we're going to go into a 90-90 stretch now. So I'm going to go down to this 90-90 position. So back legs at a 90-degree bend. This front legs at a 90-degree bend. And I'm going to start from here. So I'm going to push my hands away. This side should feel easiest. I'm going to take a deep breath. One more time. Breathing all into the ribs. Feel like I'm breathing into my mid-back. Last one. Moving my hands forward. So that breath is so important. We want to feel like that we're actually breathing into the rib cage. And I'm breathing into my lats, my hips, hands are forward. Let's go 2 more like that. One more time. I'm going to try and take my hands off now. So I'm going to put my hands out here. I'm going to go deep breath. This cramping, just kind of bang it out a little bit, palpate it a little bit, focus on that breath. If you do this for a few days, we're going to get a little bit better at it. How are we doing on time so far? We're rolling right through this.
Yeah, we're
How are we
doing
looking?
great.
What's our time at, just so I know?
All right, we have about 7 minutes to go.
Perfect. We're going to get right through this. 7 minutes is no problem.
And this is amazing after sitting for 45
Oh my
minutes.
God. You know what's so funny? I was just thinking that. I'm like, this is perfect. I'm getting like some stretching work done and some stability work done after I just got off of, this podcast and another call earlier. So we're going to go hands forward. Seven minutes, no problem. One more time. Expanding. Last position here, then we're going to get into the last movement of the second series. We have 3 series total. One more time. Perfect. Get my deep breathing right now. So we're going to go into a thoracic bridge, one of my favorite movements here. So we're going to go into our downward dog. We're going to flip our dog. We're going to drive our hips to the ceiling, allow my arms to drop over. Deep breath into the hip. Back to the middle. Down dog again. Flip your dog over. Let's go back and forth again. Down dog. So at that down dog, I'm really feeling like my mid-back, my mid-T-spine is opening up. Right now, I'm getting my glutes to activate. I'm getting the front of my hips to really loosen up. Little reciprocal inhibition in there, where we're getting the glutes to fire, so we're getting the hips to loosen. And good. All right, now, I'm going to actually slide this mat here. So now we're going to go into a seesaw lunge, okay? So we're going to stand up now. A seesaw lunge is going to look where, tell me if you can see me fine in this camera.
Yep,
we're going to step back.
perfect
Am I
in the
okay
middle.
there? Great, so see how I'm seesawing forward to back?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go for 10 reps each leg. So we're going to really hit the quads, the hamstrings, the glutes, and we're going to open the hips. So forward. Ash, you going to join me? There we go. Aha, I got you. I'm coaching you now. I want to see you doing this with me. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I'm going opposite of you.
It's okay. Yeah, I love it. Actually, we're seesawing back and forth. 2 more. Let's go. 1 more. So it's a great way to actually hit the entire lower body without having to use any weight. So I know if you're out on the street, on a field, it's a great way to work on some stability, mobility, strength, all that good stuff. Let's go for, this is number 8. 4, 9, 10. Okay. Whew. Felt that. Can you see me okay in a push-up position here? How are we on time?
We're good.
Okay. We're going to go through these. We got 2 more movements to go, all right?
Perfect.
We should be finishing right on the button. So we're going to go into a push-up to reach. So if you could do the push-up standard, great. If you have to do them kneeling or on a bench to support yourself, so there's a little bit of an incline, great also. We're going to drop down, reach, 10 total, 10 push-ups total, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Selfishly, this is great today because I'm ending my day. Good push-ups right there. I love it. We're going to finish with a TYLNW just to complement the work that we just did to the anterior chain and hit the muscles of the posterior chain, the backside. So this is going to be 4 movements in a row, really fast, rapid fire, done. So we're going to tilt forward, 10 reps, 2, 3, 4. Squeezing the back of your shoulder blades together, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. We're going to go down to a standing Y. There you go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's go into our L. So we're going to rotate, row, and rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. Last one. We're going with our W. Let's get our forearms to touch. You see how they're together here? Leaning forward, hinging forward. Arms out to the side, thumbs up. 1, 2. And you can always do this with light dumbbells if you have them, soup cans. But even from just going with no weight here, I'm feeling it. And done.
Ooh.
What was my time? I'm just curious. Do you have it? Should be around.
Yeah, I think you were about 12 or 13 minutes.
I love it. Okay, so I promised you 10 to 15, so that was perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. That was an incredible workout. I feel like from sitting here, I didn't have my workout on camera. It was just you, but like I can tell a huge difference here just from sitting and talking, feeling more open. Yeah.
So, and that's what's interesting about it is that's not a workout to beat you up, but that's a workout to unwind the body or prepare you for activity. That's why I love those short burst workouts that are focusing a lot on, stability, flexibility, strength. For me, the body feels great doing that. If we threw those little workouts in there, even if it's only 5 minutes a day, if you could throw 1 or 2 of those in a day, you're going to unwind your body. Your body's going to feel a lot better.
Yeah, and those standing hip opening exercises, what do you call that first one that we did or the second one?
Oh, hip airplane?
Yes.
Tough.
Yeah, those are great. Dawn, it has been such a pleasure chatting with you and doing this stability workout with you. Just before we go, is there anything you want the audience to know, to follow you? What's happening next? Anything in your world?
You know what? It's been a lot of great stuff happening. I just want to thank the audience for listening, and for me to be able to do what I love every day is just incredible. And I've been loving working with On Running, and it's been great to meet the team at Fleet Feet, and you guys. It's just been such a great partnership. So I'm hoping to do a lot more with everyone, and hope to see everyone a lot more in the future.
Thank you so much. And you all, if you want some more of Dawn's workouts, we have 2 on our YouTube channel right now. And I think there'll be more in the future. And have a great evening.
You too. Hope your body feels great, everyone. Take care. Thanks so much.
Thank you.